Okay, I'm here. Nobody panic. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to tonight's show. I'm Stuart Davis. I'm a flawed man of God. I am a deacon at a small church outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a biblical scholar, and I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm trying to do here is just talk about the faith, talk about Christianity, talk about God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, talk about the ways that life affects Christians, our viewpoints on it, where I believe we should be, and and just offering my perspective. Been a Christian my whole life, non-denominational Protestant. I don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination. Just trying to be in the Word every day, uh, doing what I can to live a life closer to Christ. So, if you are somebody who is interested in learning more about Christianity, if you are somebody who is, um, curious and thinking about possibly going into a church or learning more, by all means, welcome to this show. I'm glad to have you here. Please tune in. Use this as whatever type of amateur primer you can to Christianity. I'm like I said, you're not going to get expert takes. You're not going to get scholarly analysis. You're just going to get a layman's perspective on what we should or what we discuss. If you are already a Christian, and you just enjoy listening and being part of Christian discussion, welcome here. Glad to have you, and please take part in the chat. Take part in the chat. We treat this very much like a small group, and I like to get other people's um, perspectives on what we do when whatever we're talking about, specifically when we're talking about the Bible. Scripture hits a lot of people differently, and a lot of people have unique insights and their own personal experiences that they can use to relate what we see. And some folks are just smarter than me. So, um, but welcome. Glad you're here. I'm late. I'm not too bent out of shape about it. I got a nice comfortable shirt on, and it's good to be streaming. It's good to have you guys here. So Nico, alias Blaine, welcome. Had to spend a couple of extra minutes saying goodnight to the daughter, who is a bit cranky. She's a bit cranky, but glad to have you guys here. Glad y'all hung in that extra 4 minutes. So the first Nico's first, alias saying the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Nico calling me late and furry. He too cannot escape the destiny of the nose. Who didn't stream? Well, I guess he was on that program with whatever her name is last night. I'm not watching a 9-hour stream. Sorry. Hey, Alex, I guess it's just you and me, Nico. I saw that pop up right after I started. I thought it was hilarious. So the jawbone, a good choice of weapon. We'll discuss. What is wrong with my shirt, Nico? It's mixed drinks. It's beach drinks. Look, if anything, it's a boomer shirt because it's very Jimmy Buffett. So type me down as giving into drunkenness with this shirt, but don't don't nail me any other way. Look, guys. Oh, Nico specifically. All right. So I reached out to a contact of mine, and he has got um, some contacts for Lutheran churches in the Los Angeles area, but apparently me and my country bumpkinness did not really nail you down in a shut up and nail me down in a how big Los Angeles is. It's huge, right? So what area of Los Angeles are you at, or are you looking to find a Lutheran church at? He wanted me to ask you to be more specific. So, all right, and I don't know what the denominations of any of you guys are on here, and frankly, I don't care unless you're Episcopalian or Unitarian. If you're Unitarian, I don't know why you're here. If you're Episcopalian, I strongly encourage you just to be an Anglican. Just be Anglican and get out of that hellscape of Episcopalian nightmare. But otherwise, I really don't care. I feel like there are helpful doctrines. I can't get into Calvinism. I find it I feel like it's a very depressing scope on Christianity and how God works. I just can't get behind it. I just can't get behind it. I don't, Blaine. I actually, and maybe I'm just having a brain fart here. I don't know yours. This is yours, the Church of Anime. Yeah, no, I don't mind. In fact, I encourage you. I was going to ask. It's like, look, if you don't feel comfortable, find some way of reaching out to me, either over Facebook or Twitter, or however, and let me know. Let me know what where you're at in it, just approximately, and I'll reach out to him. Potlucks and no snakes. Sounds like Baptist. Are you charismatic, Blaine? Not asking if you have charisma, but are you charismatic? I will. I'll be on the lookout for it, Nico. And I may have an answer for you tonight. So I'd like to, because I'd like to give you. And look, this is and like I said, this is no pressure. You expressed an interest. You liked kind of the trappings behind Catholicism, but not all of the some of the noise, I guess, with Catholic doctrine. Lutherans a good as very much Catholic light. There's a lot of stuff that Martin Luther found it took issue with, that the Catholic Church was doing, and he separated it. He separated it, and basically what you ended up with is is Catholicism without a lot of doctrine that Luther considered outside of of scriptural teaching. There's a lot of sola scriptura, the Bible alone, sola fide, faith alone, and into infant baptism. But there's a lot of there's some their formality. So yeah, Nico, the guy the guy I'm talking to is Hans Feeney from Lutheran Satire. He's kind of a I'm not going to do the Ron. He's kind of a big deal. No, but he is relatively well known in Lutheran circles, especially in the LCMS. So you have to. So I imagine an LCMS is generally pretty based. When it comes to when you're looking at the Lutheran Church, I don't know about the other ones except for the ELCA. Do not go to those churches. Transgender pastors affirming and conducting homosexual weddings and everything. And like I said, this is our faith, and that is contrary to those faiths. So those things are contrary to our faith and our instructions from God. So that stuff can't be going on inside the church. Not to say that any church is going to be without sin. So churches are made up of people. And even if you are great like David, you are going to mess up. and the more people you get together, the more opportunity there is to screw up as a group. Good people, bad company. But apparently Lutherans have potlucks too. So there you have it. Blaine, I don't know, just PNW Baptist. Oh, Pacific Northwest Baptist. Pretty charismatic, but couldn't tell you. Look, I'm non-denominational. If you go to a Lutheran church and tell somebody, oh, non-denominational told me pointed me towards Lutheran, he goes, oh, you mean a Baptist? All the high church all high church Protestants and probably the Orthodox and probably Catholics, when they hear non-denominational, they go, it's just a Baptist. And it's because we're generally Anabaptists in our beliefs, which is pretty much where I lie. What I think is correct, but I'm open to being wrong. There are a lot of high church Protestants, the Catholic Church, the Orthodox, that are very much believe in infant baptism. So they point to scripture. I don't necessarily agree with it, but again, there's a lot of history there. And I'm not trying to say just because we've always done it that way doesn't mean it's not wrong. They've got a lot of history on their side, and they do have an interpretation that isn't completely asinine. So when it comes to things like that, always be open to being wrong about things. Be firm, and I think that there's kind of a medium between being firm in your convictions, but being open to the fact that where am I looking for? Saw this on Twitter. Guy that I follow, he was gay as a teenager, and he is since not. He is not no longer homosexual, and in fact, he's on Twitter trying to work his way through some lady he has a crush on. Had a 1619 Baptist, which I don't understand really that whole chestnut there, but the 1619 Baptist basically saying you're damned because you believe in you don't believe in salvation through faith alone. Called him a heretic and like doing all this stuff, and really he's just coming. I mean, you can tell he's probably just coming at him because he has that past where he was a youth and he expressed that he was attracted to other guys, but he's not like that anymore. And like I said, we shouldn't beat our fellow Christians down on stuff like that, especially when they're working through or have gotten past their sin. And that doesn't mean we don't have others that we're struggling with, but to me, it's pretty stupid. You hold people who overcome a difficult sin to overcome or difficult culture to overcome a sin with. He's on the other side of a very difficult struggle that us who are older don't really understand it, but because the grooming and the incentive that the culture puts in place was not really there out in the open, trying to influence as many people as possible, as it is for Zoomers these days and folks and late or very young millennials. It's everywhere. So think of it this. All right, and I'm going to read the other chats, but Nika, because it's on topic, he is no longer homosexual. Sounds weird to me. It does say. I mean, it does kind of sound weird because we don't hear about it a lot. But imagine he's talking about I'm 15 years old, right? Or he was when he was 15 years old. He's, I think, in his early 20s now. But you think about what he's grown up in. I don't know how old any of you are really, not you specifically either, Nico, but think of all the culture stuff that was going on back then, and or when he was 15, and is still going on now. How confusing that can be to somebody, um, at an age where hormones are raging, and you're a confused person, and maybe you don't have, um, maybe just in a bad place in your life too, where you could be led into things that maybe you don't really think, or maybe you're tempted into things, and people encourage that temptation where just ignoring it would make it go away. I don't know. That's not my struggle. Never been something I've ever had to wrestle with, but I feel for these folks, and the amount of bullying that goes on for people who don't want to be that way once they've said that they are, and want to change that is incredible. It's like people who detransition, right? Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody on that side wants to talk about it. I don't know. I don't know, Nico. I haven't gotten into it. I really don't. I really would rather just celebrate the fact that he's on the other side of it. I don't know how deep into it he was at. So anyway, Nernaeth, no notification from Susan again. Are you still subscribed? Did she shadow unsubscribe you? That would be interesting to know. Because I put the notification out about an hour ago. Well, almost an hour and a half ago. It was about 7:05. Alias says, Lutheran, good people, bad coffee. All coffee is bad to me. Food's good, coffee is awful. I believe that food is good and coffee is awful always. Free, non-denominational, our coffee's bad too. Dude, look, it's just about, do you have enough older retired folks who love to cook that they bring in stuff for breakfast in the lobby to make going to church? It's like, I don't even have to worry about eating breakfast. I'm just going to snack on whatever's on the table when we get there. So that's where I'm at, Alias. Non-denominational. We get picked on a lot, right? We're the loners, and we have the misfortune of being associated with mega churches. A lot of weird mega churches out there. A lot of people would not explicitly lump prosperity gospel churches, mega churches like Joel Osteen's or Kenneth Copeland's with us, but they are non-denominationally kind of churches. What we get really hammered for probably more along the lines of the Hillsongs and the Bethels and all those other places, all those other mega churches that preach, just pop Christianity. Pop Christianity. They don't hit the hard stuff. A lot of secret churches are non-denominational. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen a secret church that wasn't one. I don't know what to think about secret churches, because I do think sometimes it's hard for people who are hurting and really need to hear the gospel, and sometimes getting all of it and all the expectations to it at once can be difficult, and some people just need to be 12-step programmed into it. But I think that secret churches should be ones that try to, if you're going to be a secret church, you need to have a plan to move people out of your church once they mature in their faith, to be like, look, we're just keep preaching the bare bones here. You've got that down. You need to move to a church that will give you consistent spiritual feeding from the pulpit and from the Sunday school and small groups, on a consistent basis, so you can grow and become closer, right? But I don't know. There's some weird theologies out there, and a lot of them are attributed to non-denominationals because we're so independent, as opposed to just saying, "Look, I don't need to assign to any specific doctrine." Again, kind of my outlook. I just want to read the Bible and read the Bible with an honest and open heart, and try to take out of it what I can, right? And then have people who are more learned to me kind of try to give me what they can about it. I don't need to get into debates over predestination or the perpetual virginity of Mary, or some of the other things you see uh, people arguing about on Twitter or Facebook or any of these other places. That's there's not going to be. I don't think there's going to be that kind of pop quiz when you get up to heaven. Whether they let you in or not. If you're, are you reformed? Do you believe in infant baptism? Do you think that X is right? It's not. I don't think there's a litmus test in there. It's going to be what's deep in your soul, and have you accepted Christ? Have you bought it? Do you have the faith? And by faith, buying into what is preached in the Bible, cover to cover. So, Nico, yes, the detransition people, yeah, it's a hard life for them. And that I'm not going to get into that. That is a gnarly subject that really will bring people down. Alias, we have a family that every Sunday morning bake fresh baked goods out of this world. Boom, bingo. Amazing. Nico says, "Ooh, I have a topic suggestion for Friday: the Christian cults in Japan. I think the unification church stuff from recent Abe flaming is pretty interesting, but maybe not too related topic." No, I'm open to that. It doesn't necessarily need to be a Christian topic, right? Doesn't necessarily need to be a Christian topic. Alias throwing an amen. With that, an amen is a good way to transition us into Judges. So Samson's going to be a Nazarite, right? And then he's born. And that's pretty much where we end. He was born. The woman gave birth to a boy and named him Samson. He grew, and the Lord blessed him, and the spirit of the Lord began to stir him while he was in Manaah, Dan, between Zorah and Eshtal. But Samson's going to have kind of a side to him that does have a bit of spite. He's going to be a little spicy in his attitude and the way he handles things. And we're going to get into that tonight. We are not going to get into Delilah tonight. We're going to save that for Monday. And I did talk to Eric Roland last night briefly. I want to talk to him about dinosaurs and how they relate to the Bible. So I got his noggin jogging on that, and so we'll see what he can pull up and what we can discuss from there. I want to bring him in about more uplifting or more informative things. We did the series of problems at the pulpit, woke Christianity. Has he even been on this show since Nick came on? I think he's done it once. I think he's been on once. Look, I'm letting him settle in. He's a busy man. He hasn't been on Power Kid Greg's show really since either. So maybe once. He and I, information, and I don't know why I haven't said this yet. Him and I are going to be on Ridgedale Brand show tomorrow night at like 10 Eastern time. Ask him about the evangelical furries. How about you ask him about the evangelical furries the next time he comes on here, and then how do you evangelize while yiffing? It's terrible. All right, Judges 14. So he was born, spirits on him. Oh, he's getting married. Samson's marriage. Samson went down to Timnah and saw there a young Philistine woman. Samson, what are you doing? Saw a young Philistine woman. When he returned, he said to his father and mother, I have seen a Philistine woman in Timnah. Now get her for me as my wife. I saw that woman. Go get me one. And it'd be funny if his mom replied with, no, we have Philistine woman at home. Philistine woman at home is a nice, wholesome Israelite girl and not a Philistine woman. But, and his father and mother replied, isn't there an acceptable woman among your relatives or among all of your people? Must you go to the uncircumcised Philistines to get a wife? But Samson said to his father, get her for me. She is the right one for me. He's kind of a brat. It's kind of a brat. He's very demanding. Samson is impetuous. Samson is, in many ways, not your typical judge, not the typical person that you think, because he's got to he's got some pretty glaring faults. So it's not, and look, there's a lot in the Bible, a lot in Judges about him, so we've got more opportunity to hear what's wrong with him. But I mean, he gets himself in trouble. Yeah, what is that, simp or Chad move, asking mom and dad for a waifu? I'm so, that is a to me that's kind of infantile. I don't know what the culture was back then, but the tone, at least in this translation, which is the Niv, the tone in this translation is very dude, get her for me. I saw a woman. Get me that one. Give me, yeah. Parents brokered marriage. She's got to work out how many heifers she was worth. Yes, they did arrange it, but I don't know if they came if it involved the son coming down and talking to his mother and father, like just making demands like that. He sounds very spoiled. So, all right, she's the right one for me. Samson said to his father, get her for me. She's the right one for me. His parents did not know that this was from the. Okay, hang on. Hang on. But Samson said to his father, get her for me. She's the right one for me. His parents did not know that this was from the Lord, who was seeking an occasion to confront the Philistines, for at that time they were ruling over Israel. Okay, so a little bit of backstory comes to light. It's a cultural thing. Marriages were alliances, that too. And what do we see? The opportunity for an alliance is also an opportunity for confrontation, right? Lord knows what he's doing. And maybe that's why he's being so demanding. You need to do that because because God said so. Why didn't he just say that though? This is who God wants me to marry. So Samson went down to Timnah together with his father and mother. As they approached the vineyards of Timnah, suddenly a young lion came roaring toward him. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him, so that he tore the lion apart with his bare hands, as he might have torn a young goat. Who is tearing a young goat with their bare hands? But he told neither his mother nor his father what he had done. And then he went down and talked with the woman, and he liked her. Oh, that's good. It's always good. Yeah, either way, Alias, either way, I think he had some bad choices in women. He at least had them in one. We can't say he had a bad choice here because this is the Lord's choice. But He does. um, so casually, Samson goes down and tears a lion apart with his bare hands. Doesn't tell anybody. Doesn't really feel like he needs to tell anybody. That's the other thing about Samson is so lackadaisical about things at times it seems, and at other times he is intense. Sometime later, when he went back to marry her, he turned aside to look at the lion's carcass, and in it he saw a swarm of bees and some honey. He scooped out the honey with his hands and ate as he went along. When he rejoined his parents, he gave them some, and they too ate it, but he did not tell them that he had taken the honey from the lion's carcass. There's something I'm missing there, and I want to know if that's or if it's just a side note. Samson's pretty Chad at this point. So if we're going for that, Nico. So I guess this is the Chad move. This is not infantile. This is not simping. God told him to do it. He told his parents to do it. This is how it was put together. He's walking around tearing lions apart and scooping honey with his hands out of beehives. Now his father went down to see the woman, and there Samson held a feast, as was customary for young men. When the people saw him, they chose 30 men to be his companions. Here's some friends too. Let me tell you a riddle, Samson said. If you can give me the answer within 7 days of the feast, I will give you 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. If you can't tell me the answer, you must give me 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. What has it got in its pockets? Tell us your riddle, they said. Let's hear it. He replied, out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet. For 3 days, they could not give the answer. And we all know that he's talking about the lion. Yeah, Nazarites are. Is it Nazarene or Nazarite? Nazarite. Nazarene. Not supposed to touch dead things. That would make Jews ritualistically unclean. They wouldn't be eligible to go into synagogue. Yeah. So for 3 days, they could not give the answer because either they don't know that there's a beehive in a dead lion, or it just didn't occur to them. On the 4th day, they said to Samson's wife, "Coax your husband into explaining the riddle for us, or we will burn you and your father's household to death. Did you invite us here to steal our property?" Woo! That's look, man, going straight to the threats. Then Samson's wife threw herself on him, sobbing, "You hate me. You don't really love me. You've given my people a riddle, but you haven't told me the answer." "I haven't even explained it to my father or mother," he replied, "so why should I explain it to you?" She cried the whole 7 days of the feast. So on the 7th day, he finally told her, because she continued to press him. She, in turn, explained the riddle to her people. Before sunset set on the 7th day, the men in the town said to him, "What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?" Nice. Samson said to them, "If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle." Then the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. He went down to Ashkelon, struck down 30 of their men, stripped them of everything, and gave their clothes to those who would explain the riddle. Burning with anger, he returned to his father's home, and Samson's wife was given to one of his companions who had attended him at the feast. Well, not exactly the red wedding, but there you go. All right. So, as Nico asked, if the answer is lion, how are they supposed to know some random lion he killed? You know, sometimes when you get into a riddle contest, I don't know how riddles worked back then. I know how they work in The Hobbit. I don't know how they work back in Judges. But, maybe this thing is on the road. Apparently it's somewhere in between um where Samson lives and Timnah. So, sitting on the road because he saw it on his way down there, and that's when he saw the bees. But I don't know. I don't know. But he tells his wife or his wife to be. Yeah, they call him Samson's wife. So they are married. You've given up, so she whines because she's been threatened. But instead of just telling him that telling him that she was threatened, she instead does this. She stays loyal to her people and gives in to the threat. And so they answer it. And Samson says, if you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle. Oh, yeah, I only know how they work in Batman or the Pete Holmes Batman version. So, he kind of splits the difference. Okay, all right, you got me. You guessed my riddle. I'll give you 30 sets of clothes. So he goes down to Ashkelon, kills 30 dudes, strips them of 30 of their men. So he goes down to Ashkelon, kills 30 Philistines, takes their clothes off, brings them up, and gives it to them. Oh, and then gave his wife away. Keep her. She wanted to stay. She wanted to be loyal to the Philistines. Samson's vengeance on the Philistines. Later on, so let's go back for a second. Is what Samson has done correct or not? I don't it's not very clear, and I don't think it really matters. What God did was compel Samson by telling him, look, you need to marry a Philistine woman or this Philistine woman, because God's intention was to create friction between the Philistines and the Israelites, outward hostility. Doesn't mean that Samson went about it the right way or in a way that was went about it the right way or in a way that was correct and within the Mosaic law at the time. Lay it on me, Alias. I might guess it. I might not. I'm half clever. I'm good sometimes with riddles. Sometimes I'm terrible. Your Nath says, spoiler, you'll see Samson break all 3 of his vows. Already seen one, right? Samson's vengeance on the Philistines. Later on, at the time of wheat harvest, Samson took a young goat and went to visit his wife. Odd. Samson took a young goat and went to visit his wife. He said, I'm going to my wife's room, but her father would not let him go in. I was so sure you hated her, he said, that I gave her to your companion. Isn't her younger sister more attractive? Take her instead. This is this is hilarious. But look, some of this stuff sounds funny, but remember, I know that a lot of y'all weren't following me when we covered Jacob. Jacob married Leah first because he was tricked into marrying Leah. He wanted to marry Rebecca or Rachel. I can't remember. I know it started with an R. I think it was Rachel. I know I got that wrong. Anyway, um, he had a girl he had a woman that he wanted to marry. So Jacob worked 7 years to get the father's permission, his uncle's permission to marry her. And at night, I guess he gets drunk. He has instead he has him marry the older sister. So, does Samson know about his tremendous strength? That's my legitimate question. I mean, he's not an idiot. I mean, he seems like he's a little bit of an oaf in some regard, but at the same time, or maybe a little bit full of himself. But yeah, now if you're ripping lions apart and nobody else does that, he's probably well aware of it. And if it doesn't, he'll be very well aware of it soon. So but yeah, so the wheat harvest. Samson took a young goat, went to visit his wife. Go into my wife's room. Son, um, I know it's been a while, few days, few weeks, who knows, few months, I don't know. Um, she I gave her to one of your Philistine buddies. But don't you like her younger sister? Way more attractive. You'd take her. Samson said to them, "This time I have a right to get even with the Philistines. I will really harm them." So he went out and caught 300 foxes and tied them tail to tail in pairs. He then fastened a torch to every pair of tails, lit the torches, let the foxes loose in the standing grain of the Philistines. He burned up the shocks and standing grain, together with the vineyards and olive groves. Whoa. Some of these are hard. Some of these come across as very Paul Bunyan-y tall tales. Believe in the Bible, guys. Believe in the Bible. Believe that things might not have been quite as straightforward as it's talked to here. They're not really going into detail how long it took him to go out there and do this, and how he set things up, how he made this happen. Believe that it happened, which is a pretty interesting way. Not if you're a fox, but probably a pretty interesting and fun way to reign terror on Philistine agriculture. Fasten the torch to every pair of tails, lit the torches, and let the fox loose. So they're just running around, just doing just chaos. He burned up the shocks and standing grain together with the vineyards and olive groves. When the Philistines asked who did this, they were told Samson, the Timnite's son-in-law, because his wife was given to his companion. So the Philistines went up and burned her and her father to death. What about her sister? So the Philistines went up and burned her and her father to death. Samson said to them, "Since you've acted like this, I swear that I won't stop until I get my revenge on you." He attacked them viciously and slaughtered many of them. Then he went down and stayed in a cave in the rock of Etam. The Philistines went up and camped in Judah, spreading out near Lehi. The people of Judah asked, "Why have you come to fight us?" "We have come to take Samson prisoner," they answered. "Do to him as he did to us." Then 3,000 men from Judah went down to the cave in the rock of Etam and said to Samson, "Don't you realize that the Philistines are rulers over us? What have you done to us?" He answered, "I merely did to them what they did to me." And they said to him, We've come to tie you up and hand you over to the Philistines." And Samson said, "Swear to me that you won't kill me yourselves." Um, Notice that they sent 3,000 men. The Judeans sent 3,000 men down to talk to Samson. It's not exactly the Spartans 300. Agreed, they answered. We will only tie you up and hand you over to them. We will not kill you. So they bound him with 2 new ropes and led him up from the rock. As he approached Lehi, the Philistines came toward him, shouting. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. The ropes on his arms became like charred flax, and the binding dropped from his hands. Finding a fresh jawbone of a donkey, he grabbed it and struck down 1,000 men. Then Samson said, with a donkey's jawbone, hold on, I'm going to do this a better way because this is what other translations have it. Finding the fresh jawbone of an ass, he grabbed it and struck down 10,000 men. Then Samson said, with an ass's jawbone, I have made asses of them. With an ass's jawbone, I have killed 1,000 men. When he finished speaking, he threw away the jawbone and the place was called Ramath Lehi. Is this kind of like a mic drop, or is this more like walking away from the explosion casually and coolly, or both? That's a strong jawbone. That's a strong jawbone. You got to think 1,000 men is a lot of killing. Or how about this? He grabbed it and then struck down 1,000 men, armed only with a donkey's jawbone. I don't know. He still had it though at the end. Amazing. Amazing what the power of the Lord will have on you. Look, we know the power of the Lord, the power that he gives to the angels, and when they go into battle. Samson's line is a pun. It's awesome. it's awesome. It's like Balaam and the talking donkey. It's one ass talking to another ass. because he was very thirsty, because killing 1,000 men is thirsty work. He cried out to the Lord, you have given your servant this great victory. Must I now die of thirst and fall into the hands of the uncircumcised? Then God opened up the hollow place in Lehi, and water came out of it. When Samson drank, his strength returned, and he revived. So the spring was called En Hakor, and it is still there in Lehi. Samson led Israel for 20 years in the days of the Philistines. That's 15, right? You could say, what's the best thing to describe? We've tried, or I have tried to come up with words to describe Samson. I think the best one that I'm at right now is reckless. Reckless. Not reckless in the manner that Jephthah was reckless. Could he have done the same with a Kardashian? I mean, look, as we already discovered, Samson's not against touching unclean things in order to. He's not against touching unclean things, so I'm sure maybe he would have, but that's more silicone based, right? Look, we haven't talked about. I don't think we've talked about reality TV here, but I hate reality TV. There's only 2 reality TV shows I was ever okay with. One is Duck Dynasty, which to this day I am still okay with, which is awesome. And I watched the first season of UFC Ultimate Fighter, which was pretty cool. But I stopped watching it and it got dumber every single season after that, I felt like. So I never really got into it afterwards. Duck Dynasty was awesome, wholesome. It was very interesting how that whole thing broke out. Like A&E gets this group of people together because they're a bunch of, they believe, they see them to be a bunch of backwards Bayou Hicks that everybody will laugh at. You don't realize how charming those folks end up becoming. And then because they're popular, because they end up becoming cultural icons, um, then people start to go back and now they want to um, now they want to go after the Christianity portion behind it. Now they said Duck Dynasty crew, the Robertson said at first, A&E told them that they wanted them to curse. And the Robertson said, no, that's not really our thing, right? They're much more wholesome than I am. I'll let I don't do it around my kids, but I will let some expletives fly. Especially when I'm working on the house. But and it even got to the point where A&E inserted bleeps where they weren't cursing, and the Robertsons came back and said, if you do this, we're not going to do the show. You're not going to construe us as people who are different from us, or as people. I'm sorry, you're not going to give people the wrong impression of us. So they went after the faith portion of it, not necessarily A&E, because I don't think they wanted that controversy. I think that they were living high on the hog on the amount of Duck Dynasty stuff that sold at Bass Pro and literally everywhere you put Duck Dynasty on it. Now, Duck Dynasty folks, they already had their own brand, Duck Commander, which is what had made them their money. But they talked to Phil Robertson about homosexuality. He's like, I love gays. They're living, but they are being sinful in their behavior. The correct take, as I see it. You love your neighbor. You understand that we're all, and one the other thing he said was we're all sinners. We're all sinners, but it's a sin. And that's the correct take. And he got lambasted for it. And I think they even talked about taking Phil off the show, which is he's the patriarch of the show. And look, yeah, Willie and Jace and Cy and the rest of the crew, they're all hilarious. But I mean, Phil's hilarious too. He has got a story behind him. And I don't know how much you guys know about this, about Phil Robertson or about the Duck Dynasty. I don't know if y'all ever watched the show or whatnot. I haven't gone back and watched shows to see how well they age. But Phil Robertson was the starting quarterback at the college that he went to, or at the high school that he went to. His backup was four-time Super Bowl champion Terry Bradshaw. He got married to his wife, had kids, and was an absolute disaster of a husband and father. Drinking, adultering, all sorts of stuff, disappearing. And I'm trying to remember all the details behind it, but eventually his wife kicked him out and said, or she left him. I can't remember, one of the two. And he got clean and he got right with God. And from there, once he got right with God, from there his success came rolling in. And I'm not saying this as prosperity gospel, but he cleaned up his act and was able to make something of himself. And while they do look like yokels, they do look like your typical rednecks that you see out in the hills. Of course, this is out in Louisiana. They look like rural people that don't often get respect. They think that they hate everybody. They're stupid and they're poor. What Duck Dynasty showed was that folks are loving, wholesome, smart, and rich. Absolutely rich. And they, but that controversy, as of that controversy, the fans of the show stopped buying a lot of the Duck Dynasty products and started buying only Duck Commander stuff because that money went directly to the Robertsons company as opposed to going through A&E and A&E taking their portion and then giving the rest up. Duck Dynasty was a great show, I thought. They ended every show. Everybody in the families at the table. They all have they pray, and they have a kind of a moral of the story, and then they have a laugh, right? It's a lot of laughs. It's a lot of talking about God. It was a good show, and that was and yeah, a lot of the stuff that and the antics that they got into was contrived, but the attitudes weren't. We talk about many of you guys coming over from Ricada Law and Nick's channel, why the people who watch his channel are so enamored with the content. It's funny, but also Nick is a real human being, right? And his persona is who you meet and when you see him in person. He's the same person. Same thing I'm trying to convey here. Real people. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be successful or that I deserve to be successful. It's whatever. I'm just me. But I'm not doing reality TV. And so much of reality TV, when you see the Real Housewives and I don't know any of the other ones because they're all dumb. Churdleys. I thought whatever that. There was one where I legitimately thought it was satire of reality TV, and it's not. Even stuff like Pawn Stars and stuff like that. Those it's all contrived. It's all contrived, and it seems the people don't seem very real. There's nothing authentic about them. That's what I don't like about reality TV. I don't think that that's good. And I know that people use it as an form of escapism. I just don't think it's something good that we should be ingesting into our bodies, I guess. I don't know, folks. Stanley Superheroes brought the yo-yo guy to the gun shop I worked at. Our shooter smoked him 10 times. Watch the episode. He looks like Yo-Yo barely lost. Sons of Guns was awesome until I worked at a gun shop and realized how dumb it was. Yes. I never watched the show, but a lot of times it's like that. In fact, buddy of mine, he was a very influential guy to me when he was when I was much younger, when I was in my very early 20s, talked me through my first time I had a spill on my motorcycle. It was actually my worst spill on my motorcycle. He talked me through it. He was former special forces, and he got me ready for deploying overseas. Just putting my head in the right space, kind of helping me understand what to expect and how to deal with it. He built custom motorcycles on the side, and he said that there was the 2 Orange County choppers, and I think that was the one with the father and the son. And he said that those guys are absolute terrors to be around, people to be around. They're not nice. They're rude to people. They're very money hungry, and that everything that goes on and all the bikes that they build are built by people that you never see, and all they do is let them come in there for the photo op or the video op to get the sound bite where they're holding something and kind of working on it. They don't work anything on it. So that's not Nico. That's not true love on the spectrum. Is great reality about true love. I haven't seen it. I know. I haven't seen that yet, but that's kind of why I don't go for it. I was late getting to Duck Dynasty. I think they were on season 3 when I started watching it, but that was if you're going to ask me to recommend a show, number one, it's always going to be Justified. Justified was my favorite show. And number two, I would say if you're looking for something wholesome, it's Duck Dynasty. It is absolutely Duck Dynasty. So, see, this is a topic that we could have on. This is a topic to talk about on Fridays, stuff like that. Alias says, I only know two famous ass stories from one of the famous ass stories. One from the Old Testament and one from, I guess it's TNT or whatever channel that's on A&E. Don't judge a book by its cover. Amen. Amen to that. So, and because you said that, I did see it. I don't know if the picture is photoshopped or not. It looked legitimate, and I didn't look. But you were talking about. I was talking about Kenneth Copeland putting his name above the Bible, the Kenneth Copeland Bible. I saw one where it was John MacArthur's study Bible. John MacArthur in big words, study Bible in little words. Don't like that. Don't like that at all. And he's a guy that says probably a lot of things that I agree with. Say things like I agree with all day. It doesn't excuse you for from your own issues. So, all right, guys. Nico, don't forget to DM me, and I'll set you up with. I'll give you whatever information I can get from my buddy, and we'll go from there. Yeah, we're planning on having a stream tomorrow night. Planning to have a stream on tomorrow night before Ridgedale Brand, where it will be me and Eric Rollon on there with those folks. And we'll be talking about the 10 Commandments. We'll be wrapping up our discussion on the 10 Commandments. So everybody have a very good evening. Have a very good evening. I've got a long day ahead of me tomorrow, so I probably need to get to bed early. Maybe. I took a nap when I got home from work, so I'm probably going to be up late because of it. Anyway, all right, guys, have a good night. And, I forgot to send my normal goodbyes. Sorry, Nico, Alias, Blaine, Nernaeth, Weeb, and Dresden, if y'all are out there, Porcupine, all the rest of you guys, thanks for stopping by. Have a very good night, and God bless.